Okay, so today we're doing day 6 notes, which is Law of Science day 2. So last class we talked about how if we have the congruence theorems, the angle, side, angle, angle, side, 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 or side, angle, side, we have enough information to state that there is exactly one triangle. Then we talked about the ambiguous case a little bit, side, angle, how it is kind of deceiving how this triangle here is drawn out. This side A is stated, however, we're not sure if this angle is necessarily acute. It could be obtuse. So what we were going to do is use law of sines to determine if there is one triangle possible, two triangles possible, or no triangle possible. It's possible to get a domain error saying there's no triangle. It's possible that we find out this angle, but if the angle given and the angle that we find sum to greater than 180, then there's not enough left to create a third angle. So then we say the triangle doesn't exist. So in number 1, it says use the law of sines to determine the missing angles and sides if given this information. So I'm going to start out by saying this is going to be two problems. So A, B, C. I am creating two triangles. I am not drawing these to scale. So we're going to decide if the triangle is possible, then we'll go ahead and find the missing angles and sides. So solve the triangle basically. So angle A is 32. I know that's talking about angle A because it's a capital letter. So we got A, B, C, A, B, C. And we'll do that for the second one. So I know automatically that angle A is 32. That should be true for both. Side A is 6.5. That should be true for both. And side B is 9.2. All right, I've got that much information. Let's start with the triangle on the left. So let's work to find out what angle B is. Okay, we want to know the angle that's across from the side that we know. All right, so I'm going to use the law of sines to determine this. So I'm going to do sine of the information I know. So sine of angle A is 32 over 6.5, the side. Sine of angle B over 9.2. Okay. Now, rather than cross multiplying, I can get 9.2 out of the denominator through multiplication. So I'll do that on both sides. So I've got 9.2 times sine 32 divided by 6.5 equals sine of angle B. Now we talked a little bit last class how sine of B here, these are connected. We cannot just divide by sine and solve this. So the only way we can actually split these apart here is by using inverses. So sine inverse of 9.2 times sine 32 divided by 6.5 is B. So we're going to throw all of this in our calculator and we'll get angle B. So take a second and do that. I usually like to use the N over D button in my calculator when entering in this fraction. If you need time, pause it, but I got 48.6 degrees. So we're stating that this angle is 48.6 degrees. Is that possible? If 32 and 48.6 added to more than 180, I have to throw that away right now. That triangle is not possible. Then I would have to keep going with the next steps. So this is possible. I can go ahead and find 48.6. Find angle C by subtracting. So 180 minus 48.6 minus 32 should give me 99.4. And lastly, because it said to solve the whole triangle, let's find side C using law of sines again. So I'm going to take sine of 32 over 6.5 equals sine, the angle I just found out, 48.6 over 9.2. And I messed up a little bit because I need to find side C. So I need to use angle C. Back up a second. All right, so sine of angle C is 99.4 and missing side C. This looks right. Now we can cross multiply. So C times sine 32 equals 6.5 times sine 99.4. Divide by sine 32. We can divide because we're keeping it together. And let's throw this in our calculator. So using the N over D button, 6.5 sine 99.4 divided by sine 32. All right, I got 12.1. Let's make sure this makes sense. Is the largest side across from the largest angle? Yes. Smallest side across from the smallest angle. Middle across from the middle. Perfect. If that's not right, we have to make sure if our triangle even makes sense. Okay. So to find the second potential triangle, I am going to take the answer I got for my first angle. Okay. If it is possibly the situation where it swings and could potentially create a obtuse angle now, what I'm going to do is take my initial answer for angle B, 48.6, and subtract that from 180. Okay, so this is B prime. This is the other option for angle B. When I subtract that, I get 131.4. So we're saying this could potentially be 131.4. Is it possible that this side is now my longest side? Okay, well, it could be possible. So the next thing I'm going to check before I even go any further is if I add up these two sides, do they sum to less than 180? So we've got 131 plus 32, 131.4 plus 32. That's 163.4. Perfect. That's less than 180, leaving me enough angle to complete angle C. So let's go ahead and find that. 180 minus 136.4, and we get 16.6. So angle C is 16.6. Okay, lastly, solving for side C, because it did say find the angles and the sides. So side C, I need sine 16.6 over missing side C. And then again, I would go ahead and use side A because that was a given. So I've got sine of 32 over 6.5 and solve. So cross multiply, C times sine 32 equals 6.5, sine 16.6, divide by sine 32. So C is, I'm getting 3.5. Okay. All right. So we have successfully confirmed that there's two triangles. If I strictly asked you what are the possible angles of angle B, it would be 48.6 and 131.4. Number two, use law of science to determine the missing angles and sides if, okay, so let's start drawing our triangles. They do not have to be perfect. Always assume it's not drawn to scale. So angle B is 58. Side A is 5. Side B is 3.4. All right. So let's go ahead and tackle this finding angle A. So let's figure out what could angle A possibly be. So I'll start with my triangle on the left. I'm going to do sine of 58, so using angle B, over side B equals sine A over side A, 5. Multiply by 5, so I've got 5 times sine of 58 divided by 3.4 equals sine A. Separate these by doing the inverse. So A is inverse sine of 5 times sine 58 over 3.4. Now throw that into your calculator. All of this goes in your calculator. Okay, so inverse sine, so second and then the inverse button, or second and then the sine button. And I click the N over D, I've got 5 times sine 58, in the denominator 3.4. Okay, this says domain error. Already, this information does not create a triangle, so it doesn't create two triangles. So our answer is no triangle exists. Okay. All right, I encourage you to do this last one on your own if you can. Pause the video and try it on your own. So I do not have to solve the triangle. Solve the triangles. It says find all possible values of angle B. So A, B, C. Labeling, I've got C is 65. Side C is 44. And side B is 32. Okay, so which angle would I try to find? Well, I would try to find B. That's across from the only other side that I know. Okay, pause and try to set this up on your own. Okay, now hopefully you've tried to set it up. Starting with my first triangle. I've got sine of 65 over side C 44 equals sine of B over 32. Multiply both sides by 32 to get this out of the denominator. So 32 times sine 65 over 44 equals sine of angle B. Solving for angle B, use inverses. So B is inverse sine of 32 times sine 65 over 44. So angle B equals, I'm getting 41.2 degrees. Double check that with your calculator. 32 sine 65. 41.2. Okay, so 41.2, let's make sure that's possible. These two angles cannot sum to more than 180 together. If they did, I would have to throw it out, okay? But that's not the case, okay? Because 180 minus 41.2 minus 65 gives me 73.8. Angle A could be 73.8. This triangle can close. Okay, so one of the potential sides or angles for angle B could be 41.2. Now let's go ahead and say, what if that was swung to create a second angle? Is it possible? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this answer and figure B prime. Okay, 180 minus 41.2. What is that? 180 minus 41.2. That's 138.8. Okay, that's less than 180. Is this possible? 138.8. Next thing we have to check before we do any solving is we have to see, could angle A then exist? So we say, with this new triangle, is there enough angle left? Because all three angles should add to 180, right? So we're going to take these two angles, add them together. 138.8 plus 65. Ooh, this is 203.8. Already, angle B and C sum to more than 180. This is not a triangle. This sits open, something like this. Um, angle, this angle opens up this way. If this is angle B, angle C is 65 degrees, or something close like this. These sides do not create a triangle whatsoever. It wouldn't close, so there is no second triangle. So cannot form second triangle. However, one triangle does exist. So we would just have one answer here, 41.2. Okay. On the next page, you have some trig practice. Let's go ahead and practice this a little bit as your in-class practice, and then